Hello, my name is Jennifer Kirchhoff, and I am a second-year graduate student in the physics department at Florida State University. I'm a condensed matter experimentalist working with Dr. Linda Hurst in the Materials Research and Technology group. Today, I'll be giving you a brief overview of my work on liquid crystals. First of all, what exactly are liquid crystals? Well, as the name implies, liquid crystals have more ordering than liquids, but less ordering than solids. Usually, liquid crystals have orientational ordering, but little to no positional ordering. This partial ordering arises from the anisotropy of the liquid crystal molecules. The most common molecules which form liquid crystal phases are rod and disc-like molecules, though recently some very interesting phases have been exhibited by bent core molecules. There are many different liquid crystal phases and subphases depending on the amount of ordering that the molecules have. These different phases can be obtained by either a change in temperature for thermotropic liquid crystals or by a change in the type and concentration of molecules that make up the liquid crystal material, such as foliotropic liquid crystals. The three most common liquid crystal phases are nematic, symmetric A, and symmetric C, seen here for rod-like molecules. The nematic phase is the least ordered liquid crystal phase, with the long axes of the molecules tending to line up in a direction denoted by N, but the molecules have no positional ordering. The symmetric A phase is slightly more ordered, with the molecules tending to arrange themselves in layers, but there is no correlation between the layers, and once again, the long axes line up along N. In the symmetric C phase, we still have uncorrelated layers, but in this case, the long axes of the molecules lie in an angle to N. Now, some liquid crystal materials crystal phases are more useful than others. For example, the liquid crystal materials used in televisions are in the nematic phase. A problem with many liquid crystal materials is that they display the phases that we want at either temperatures that are too high or over too small a temperature range. However, by mixing liquid crystal materials that do display the phase we want with other materials, which may or may not have liquid crystal phases, we can lower the melting point of these temperatures and even change the phases that the material displays, thus making a more useful mixture. In fact, the liquid crystal material used in television displays is a mixture of many liquid crystal molecules which display the nematic phase. So once we make a mixture, how do we determine what phases it exhibits and at what temperatures? Well, the most common and powerful technique used in studying liquid crystals is polarized optical microscopy. As liquid crystal molecules are anisotropic, they are also birefringent. So when we place some liquid crystal material between two cross polarizers and transmit light through, we can still see a pattern because the liquid crystal material changes the polarization of the light. What we see depends on the ordering that the molecules have, and so different liquid crystal phases will have different textures. For example, the symmetric A and symmetric C phase both have a fan texture. However, in the symmetric C phase, these fans are broken up by many little lines, while the symmetric A phase is much smoother. One thing to note, though, is that one liquid crystal phase can display more than one texture. Here you can see the nematic phase for the same material less than 1 degree apart. However, on cooling, the nematic phase has a ribbon-like texture, whereas on heating, it has a brain texture. The fact that some phases display more than one texture, and that sometimes there are very subtle differences in textures, make it hard to always determine when a phase transition occurs. So we have to employ another technique to verify phase transitions called differential scanning calorimetry. Now, a calorimeter takes two pans, one reference pan which is empty, and then one sample pan which has some liquid crystal material in it, and tries to maintain the two pans at the same temperature as it heats or cools them. The calorimeter measures the heat flow into the pans versus the temperature. Whenever the liquid crystal sample undergoes a phase change, it either releases or absorbs heat, thus creating a peak in the heat flow, and so we can determine exactly when a transition occurs. However, differential scanning calorimetry tells us nothing about what phase the material changes to or from, and so it must be used in conjunction with microscopy to put together a phase sequence. Once we have the phase sequence of each mixture, we can then put together a phase diagram, which tells us what phases are displayed at what temperatures as a function of dopant concentration. We can then pick a mixture which optimizes the parameters we are looking at, whether it be having one phase as wide as possible or having a certain melting point. We can also use a mixture to make new mixtures, repeating this process until we get all the phases we want at the temperatures we want, and thus making a material that is best suited to our purpose. Thank you for your attention. I hope you had fun learning about the fascinating world of liquid crystals in my work here at Florida State University.